and 54 pence sterling.
For more on finance, we're joined in the studio by Rod North from Bourse Communications. Rod, good morning.
Good morning.
So we've had 2 months of this new year to look at in terms of share market trajectory. How's it going?
Well, look, January started off pretty poorly. February has been pretty good because we had some fantastic results coming through for company profits. In fact, it was probably the best period we've seen for about 3 years. But it's always worry about March because there's an old saying, beware the Ides of March, which,
yes,
of course, is the 15th of March. We're not quite there yet, but, you know, it has a bit of historical context with Caesar, and with share markets it can create a bit of activity as well, generally on the downside, because we sort of come off a pretty significant reporting season, and then we're really looking at, I suppose, what is also called the autumn avalanche of data to come through. So there's a fair bit of unpredictability both in the Australian context, and also we've got, you know, the geopolitical issues at the moment with Russia and the Ukraine. So I think we could be seeing the market come off a bit. We might, you know, see a decline, you know, for a couple of weeks until we see, you know, some stability or some certainty return there. People just don't like uncertainty, and there's generally a sort of, well, you know, I've locked some gains in, maybe I should get back into, you know, cash and so forth.
Now, there's lots of uncertainty outside, but when the RBA board sits down for its meeting today, there's going to be a sea of stability.
There's nothing uncertain about that one at all, because, again, you know, reading the commentary post the last RBA meeting, which was the first for the year, in January, it was pretty clear that we would be in for a period of stability with the interest rate, cash rate at the moment at 2.5%, although I'm still believing at some point in time, particularly because the biggest thing that's of concern to me is the unemployment rate, and we know that's at 6%, likely to still go higher. And of course, we've, you know, been dealing with the saga of Qantas over the last couple of weeks, and the fact that significant jobs will be lost there, which sort of further mitigates jobs lost, you know, in the car industry and other industries as well. And, you know, I don't know whether we've seen perhaps the end of that. So I think the Reserve Bank's got to watch that very closely, as it will be watching the GDP quarter figure that will come out tomorrow, and retail sales as well. But unemployment, I think, as I've said a number of times, is the biggest issue that we need to face in Australia, and I think the Reserve Bank's got to keep a bit of you know, petrol in the tank there, just in case it needs to give a bit of stimulus at some stage this year.
What are consumer prices showing us at the moment?
Consumer prices are showing a trend more at the top end of the band, you know, closer to 3%, because we saw some figures come out yesterday which were basically the survey figures from TD Securities ahead of the official data, which put the inflation rate closer to 3% at 2.7. But this is where we saw, you know, things like vegetables and petrol, you know, and those sort of consumer goods sort of up quite a bit for February. So that sort of doesn't help. But sometimes that's sort of seasonal, so I think the Reserve Bank's got to watch that pretty closely. But still, you know, the trend at the top end is of concern as well. We've still got a high dollar as well, you know, closer to the 90 cents. So there's a bit on the table for the Reserve Bank to think about this afternoon ahead of its announcement.
And not make a decision.
And not make a decision. That's exactly right.
So it'll just be a long lunch.
It'll be a long lunch after that one, I think.
Rod, good to see you. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Now we